Most entrepreneurs are told they need a world-changing idea, but what if that's the wrong goal? What if the better goal is to build something that changes your world? Welcome, or hopefully welcome back to The Reluctant Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Mike Conrad. My guest today is Jay Sapovits, founder of Inked Stores, a branded merchandise, custom apparel, promotional products, and online store company. Jay's path wasn't built around a perfect plan or a Silicon Valley-style breakthrough. In fact, Jay makes a powerful point. The idea is usually not the business. Execution is the business. Courage is the business. Seeing a problem, offering a solution, and taking action is the business. Jay has experienced reinvention, public failure, financial pressure, and the difficult process of rebuilding. He's also built a company he loves in an industry where no one was waiting for one more competitor to show up. This is a conversation about being scared to stay, scared to leave, finding courage through desperation, learning from failure, and building a business that may not change the world, but can absolutely change your world. We'll learn more about Jay's journey when I return in just a moment. Stick around. Hi, Jay. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
What a kind introduction. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Jay, doing my research on you, I've heard you say that watching your father dislike his job had a major impact on you.
Sure.
Yeah, so my couple of questions are, first, walk me through that. Give me some detail on that. And how did that shape the way you thought about your work and your career choices moving forward?
Well, I mean, you're assuming I thought about my career choices moving forward.
Well, yeah.
I was sort of living in every moment, and that especially was true when I was younger because I was a wild child. And, my three kids are 25, 23, and 20 right now. And, I really didn't get my life started until I was 24, 25 years old, even though I did a lot of things and had a ton of great experiences. I mean, I was really, really, really just, in my own self by, for my youth and up until I was about that age, 24. So they all have a head start on me. As far as my dad, I mean, that's pretty simple. He was a school teacher. He struggled with the administration in that he didn't feel like they had his best interest in mind or they had the student's best interest in mind. And he did have the student's best interest in mind. And he just slowly but surely deteriorated at his job. And he was a guy who, like me, wears his heart on his sleeve and would bring that home. And, he wasn't a guy who would leave it there. He was very involved both in the community. He just was an involved guy. So that said, you learn from your parents more by watching what they do than hearing what they say.
Right.
And I learned from my dad, that's how it happened. So, that's the story. I watched my dad be miserable and vowed I wasn't going to be miserable. And when I got to the point at most of my spots where the weeds got too high, I left. Now, mind you, that wasn't a good feature. It didn't really teach me how to deal with conflict and how to overcome negative or tough situations. So I'm not advocating that, you bop around or you leave when things don't go your way. But looking back at my journey, I definitely feel like there were a few spots where I could have stuck into the pocket a little, and stayed the course a little more firmly and not moved on to the next thing when I did. Now it mostly worked out. Obviously it didn't at some point, but it mostly worked out. What I'll say is it got me to where I'm at today. And that's the reason I've been, running Ink Stores since, really it wasn't. I mean, 14 years with the same company. In this iteration, we're past 10. So that's based on lessons learned, Mike.
Yeah, I think I call it the pinball effect. I was very similar to you and that I bounced around like a pinball in a pinball machine, just bouncing off the bumpers and going wherever it took me. I probably had no less than 15 jobs
Yeah.
from the time I started working, which was technically at age 12, paper route stuff. And then I conned a pizza parlor into hiring me at 14. And they said, well, we can't pay you because you're underage. I'm like, I'll eat pizza. So I worked for pizza, which was actually really good because I would have spent the money there anyway. So I did that for a few years. And I would just bounce around job to job to job and get fired a couple times, quit most of the time, and just went on to something, the next shiny object in the corner. So I probably had about 15 jobs until I started my company 32 years ago, and 34 years ago, actually. And that's the longest, job, if you call it that I've ever had. And I still have it. But I used to beat up myself over the flakiness of my career path. And now I don't. Now I celebrate it because it got me to where I am. There was, when you look back with altitude and perspective, you realize there was a plan. I wasn't in charge of the plan. Somebody was, the business gods at some point were in charge of the plan. And I learned probably more what not to do than what to do. I did learn some positive lessons, but like the thing with your dad, that may have been a negative lesson. And what you learned was, I'm not going to be that guy, that hates my job, right? So, I celebrate all those both positive and negative lessons because it's part of the ingredients that go into the cake, that eventually goes into the oven and eventually produces something. So I celebrate that stuff. On the subject,
I'm not sure that. By the way, I'm not sure that outcome is a fait accompli. So it doesn't have to build something. There's people who bop around their entire career, never figure it out, always blame other people, don't learn from their mistakes.
Of course,
don't look in the rearview mirror and dissect and analyze things, and take an approach of how can I get better, grow, all the way down the line. So, I think that what I've learned is it's short-sighted. Again, for me, I think that view it's a little short-sighted to think like that it's an automatic. I think it takes a deep, deep, deep level of commitment to looking inside of yourself to break that pattern, which has to be broken. Like, it just has to be broken. Like, you can't continue that way as a professional. You have to find something where you can dig your teeth into, and then when the going gets tough, you hang in there and fight through it. So, for me, that maturity came later in life where I was able to do that. Notwithstanding, I had successes early in life too. But yeah, that's what I would say towards that is it's not a given that it just happens.
Yeah, I have phrases for everything, Jay, and I call it the miss the train moment. So there are friends that I've known for years since I was a child that we're all standing on the platform waiting for the train, the career train or the life train or whatever, and some get on it right away. They know what train they want. They know the destination. Some say, hey, I'm having fun here on the platform. I'll wait for the next train. I'll wait for the next train. And then they just never quite get on a train, right? And they spend their entire adult life, having missed the train, waiting for the next one to come by. And at some point, the train stopped coming. And they just, as you said, blame everything but themselves. We all know people like that. But if, as you said, if we can look back and dissect it and learn from it and apply it and really do some soul searching, then that becomes the fertilizer that's necessary, the ingredients that's necessary to build on. On the subject of your job, at one time I heard you say, I wasn't scared to leave, I was scared to stay. And I think that is a moment of paralysis that a lot of people have in their careers. They don't like what they're doing, but it's too scary to try something else. And they just show up every day, with this paralysis. What what did that mean in your own journey? You said that you were scared to leave, but scared to stay. Explain an example of that, if you wouldn't mind.
I think that there's been times in my career where I felt stuck, and when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and like, this is pre-AI, obviously, but you think like, boy, a robot could do what I'm doing, and you just start to get this feeling internally where you don't have you don't feel a great deal of value, and you're giving value, and I just don't have the capability to stay in that sameness all the time. So, I like action. I like, I'm not afraid of risk. I'm not afraid of balling my fists up and working hard. I guess I'm more fearful of getting stuck, right? So, it does probably point back to my childhood, seeing my dad, who was counting the years down. He'd count the days, he'd count the years. Imagine counting years down: 7 years till I get my pension, 6 years till I get my pension, 5 years till I get my pension. I mean, This is the one time you get to go. This is the one thing you get to do in life, right?
Right.
I mean, you get one spin. I mean, that's it. So, I look at my career. I've, in a nutshell, been part of some of the sexiest businesses you could ever be part of, with Marquis Jet, partners with Warren Buffett's NetJets. I've built a business on St. Bart's, most exclusive island in the world. Or one of them at least. Involved with pro golf my whole career through Jim Furyk, and now I get to partake in creativity and business growth with some of the best brands in the world. So I don't have any regrets towards it'd be silly to think that you could look back at an entire body of work. I'm 54, been working since I'm 13 years old. So you figure 42 years, 41 years of work. It is insane to think you could look back and not have regret along the way over moves you made or moves you didn't make. It's 42 years.
Sure.
I mean, that's an enormous amount of time. It's 4 decades. I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, but that's what it is. You can't look back at that and say, what if? Now, you can't live in what if, but at least to entertain the conversation in your head, what if? It's impossible not to do. But here we are now, and I look back at those experiences, and to your point, like, would I be where I'm at today if I didn't look back with a critical scope to them? And I can, unequivocally say no. And I like where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's good. You've spoken openly about closing a business and feeling embarrassed, lonely, scared. Loneliness is something I want. Let me just pause there for a second. I think entrepreneurship is often romanticized by people who are not entrepreneurs, right? I can't tell you how many times I've been told by family and friends and strangers that you're so lucky, you're an entrepreneur, you get to write your own checks, take all the time off you want. And I'm like, okay, yeah, keep dreaming. But I think what most people don't realize is entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And because people around you don't get what you're going through. They don't get the stress. They don't get anywhere near it. They just have this, as I mentioned, romanticized view of it. But you mentioned that you were, at times embarrassed, lonely, and scared. How did you begin rebuilding from that point? Where'd you get your perseverance? How did you get past or how did you ensure the loneliness, embarrassment, and the scared aspect of these journeys? How do you get past that?
It's a simple answer. I mean, I'd love to complicate it. I'd love to give you this grandiose story of getting past it. But the truth is, I had 3 kids under 10, 9, 7, and 4. And the reality for me was I was going to do one of 2 things. I was going to show my kids the wrong way, or I was going to show my kids the right way. So I balled my fists up, went to work every day, grinded like I know how to grind. I've never been afraid of hard work. I've worked, from the time I was 13, crawling in the flatbed of partitioned off rider truck, pushing flower beds over Easter, for delivery over Easter as a kid to the back of the right. I was a small kid, so they would put me into I was the one on my knees pushing flower bed. I mean, I was a line cook at Friendly's. I worked at a dry cleaners in college. Like, I'm a get my hands dirty kind of gritty guy. And I was never, ever in a million years, no matter what, under any circumstances, not show my kids toughness in my hardest time. So as lonely as I was, as scared as I was, as fearful as I was, and I was all of that, all of it. You don't need to be confident. You don't need to be motivated. You don't need to, in fact, you don't need any outside influence to take action. You know what you need to take action, Mike? You need to take action. You need to do it.
Right. You just do it. Yeah. It's Nike.
You just do it.
Yeah. Right.
Of course. That's why it's the best marketing slogan that'll ever be.
Yeah.
You don't need to be motivated. Like, no one can cry between calls. It doesn't matter. Just get in and do the work. And that's it. That's the only formula for success. And, you can't look, I can't go to Mars like Elon. I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not Jeff Bezos. They're better entrepreneurs than I am, and they're better businessmen than I am. And I'm okay with that. Right. But what I can do is take a commoditized business that I have now, and I can partition off that commoditization to create real value for people in a way that other companies can't, and then deliver against that promise. So you mentioned you were in the pizza business. I call the promo world where I'm in now, I call it the pizza business, right? That pizza shop that you worked at had 10, 15 other pizzas that you could buy within a 2-mile radius.
Sure.
Right? But they all had enough business. They all had enough business to succeed, not be successful, but the owner got paid, or the owner didn't close the business, right? Somebody lived on Main Street, somebody lived in the mansion, and then therefore in between. But, it's just about doing. So you ask, how did I get through it, or what was my motivation? Like, my kids not seeing their dad flunk out. Like, I had grown past that point in my life. The kid stage was over. It was big boy time. It was grow up. You have 3 kids, like, get to work, like, figure it out. Okay, great. My career arc is like this, boom, down, and then slowly but surely coming back up. So it's like, if I didn't have that down, it would be straight up. But if I just had straight up, who knows where I would be? Who knows if I'd be the same person that I was today?
Right.
I could potentially have been overrun by ego like I was in the first part of my career. Certainly not the best version of myself. Look back at it. Wish I could change so many different things. But here I am today, and I feel like I don't have to go back and change the past. I can just live a different life today. And literally, it's nothing more than a choice. So the quick answer to your question is, my kids, I took action against my goals, whether I believed in myself at that moment or not. And slowly but surely, the comeback happened. And, I can't even really call it a comeback any longer because, I've kind of been.
You've been here for a while. Yes. Yeah.
I've been here for a while because I didn't wait, and I just kind of made it happen.
What drew you toward Inked, the concept of Inked? What of all the choices you had, you did pick obviously something that you mentioned, where there's one on every corner. As I said in the intro, it's not like they were all inviting more competition. So what drew you to that industry in spite of the fact that it can be viewed, at least from the outside in, as a pretty saturated industry.
Yeah. So look, it is, right? But there's also 28 to $30 billion worth of business out there.
Right.
So there's a lot of business for everybody. So it's a perfect business for somebody who's got the ability to think and then go out and do the work, and go out and get business. What drew me to it, I'd say, is a couple of things. One, I knew the space pretty well because I had always been involved in some sort of way in merch and swag. Two is the businesses that I had previously been involved in were like new markets and new ideas. And I was just kind of tired of inventing ideas and markets, and realized that you don't need a new idea. Like there's plenty of, like, I finally came to the realization, like, there's 2 drugstores on the same corner. There's 50 pizza shops in 3 towns around me. There's a lot of different commodity bits. There's more than one supermarket that I could drive to. So sell something people want. Like, hello, like, I know that sounds crazy, but sell something people want. And then my problem that I was specifically addressing was I was a small business owner, and I couldn't find people who would take orders in low quantities. And I decided that I was going to be the guy who took orders in low quantities. And to this day, since we launched, we've had a MOQ of 1, and we take orders in 1 piece minimum. So wow. I did specifically solve a problem, and it's the reason I built our own manufacturing facility and don't farm out. We do almost 90% of the work in-house ourselves, because I want to be able to say yes, especially to my bigger clients. I mean, I had it yesterday. Executive assistant of the CEO of a Fortune 500 company sends me an email. Golf outing in Minnesota on Monday. Can you get us four polos and 4 hats? CEO, boss, I won't say his name, wants to hand out to himself and the players in the event. Wants to wear it to represent the company, right? No problem. It's Wednesday. We can get it there for Saturday delivery. Have it at the hotel for them when they check in on Sunday. So yeah. I couldn't do that if I was relying on somebody else to do the work, but I'm not. I do the work. So, that's why I love this space. It's why I got into this business. I have my attitude is I like to help people. Like, I have that gene. And I just think that there's ways that we do things that go beyond what was in the market. So saturated, sure. But even, as you said in your intro, I learned it's not about the idea, it's about the execution.
Yes. And you mentioned earlier, the difference between succeeding and successful, right? And I think that your point that it's a multi-billion-dollar business, so there's enough business in it for everyone. That's one motivation. But to get a disproportionate share of the business, not just one, 2/billionth of it, but to get a disproportionate share, you have to, as you did, solve a problem and do something that the rest generally don't do. And I think that's where you can carve out a bigger piece of the pie than it compared to it just being divided equally. Say there's 10 T-shirt shops in your region. There might be 100, but let's just say there's 10. You don't want just 1/10 of it, even though you might succeed with that. You might want 1/3 of it or 1/2 of it, and you do that by going beyond just providing the product, right? You do something that others don't do. You recognize where the holes are and the deficits are in that industry, and you build to that. That sounds like that's exactly what you did. Am I right?
Yes, but I'm just doing some quick math. Sir, I'm not sending an email. I just wanted to jot it down. $30 billion industry.
Wow.
$30 billion industry, right? If you're 0.3% of a percent, 0.3% of a percent, 4.35. You're an 8-figure business. So
Yeah.
how relevant, you know what I mean? How relevant do you need to be?
Right. Right.
You just need to do the work. You
Right.
need to do the work. And you have to have loyal clients, you have to have the right clients, and you have to your point, you got to have the right offer. I think we have the right offer, and a lot of clients think we do too.
You describe entrepreneurship as a problem, a solution, and courage. I've heard you say that. Can you explain that formula? How you came to that formula?
You got to solve a problem, right? Somebody's got to have a problem. If you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist, you don't have a business. And so you need a solution. And then as far as the courage is concerned, look, the biggest thing I think that holds people back isn't the money. I think it's and social media has changed this a little bit, but it's the social anxiety of facing people in their inner circle under the perception of not having a job. And then the other piece to that is, let's say you're at a major brand. A lot of times major brands don't play really well because they give you the name brand that you can hang your, hey, I'm at X, Y, or Z company. And everybody's like, ooh, X, Y, or Z. They're a big company. That's cool. You're cool. You work for a big company. But that big company doesn't pay you what you feel you're worth. They are paying you. You know what they're paying you in? Their brand name. They're paying. Your equity that you've put is in that company's name, that you get to socially go out there and say, I work for this company, and people think better about you. So I think that the emotional side is a lot stronger than the financial side. Because look, I'm not saying it's easy to make money, but if you're trying to replace $50,000 to $100,000 in income, go knock on doors.
Right.
I mean, cut grass. Like, it's just not the variance in replacement revenue to your family. I mean, buy a power washer and, go spray some houses down, or a lawnmower and cut some grass. I mean, you'll be at $50,000 a year, no matter what. I mean, just by doing that. I'm not saying that's a business, but I'm saying, like, there's a certain dollar amount that's just super replaceable. And it just takes effort. It doesn't even take ideas or any business acumen. So the question is, can you stomach the pain of how your social circle is going to be, right? Because a lot of people, not a lot, but some people they'll leave, they'll go start something else, and then they'll side hustle for cash. And that's very courageous to do. But other people aren't willing to do that because they have the big brand behind them. And that's how they draw their value in their social circle. And it's, good for them.
Yeah. What do companies or people get wrong when they think about swag and branded items?
No, it's simple. The biggest thing they get wrong off the bat is they don't think in terms of outcomes. They don't think in terms of outcomes, especially at trade shows. I mean, at trade shows, companies are they might buy an item, and they look at it as a giveaway or a handout, and it's not. It's trade show giveaways are tools. They're mechanisms. They're lures. They're strategic devices, and they need to be thought of as that, right? So it's not money. I was on a call earlier today with a company, and he said, I don't know what our budget is. I said, but not going to talk budget. We're not going to talk money. We're going to talk about ideas and concepts and how I think about promo and how you should think about promo. and you gave me the name of the event. Let me tell you about the events you're going to, the people that are there. And, you know, you've already confirmed with me that this is, you're not trying to create awareness of your company, but you're actually doing this as a lead gen. So good. If you're doing this as a lead gen, let's start with how many people you're going to have in the booth. Okay, great. Now let's talk about how, when you're in that booth, how big is it? Okay, good. So, there's so many different elements, but when your buying process is, I'm going to go to 4imprint or Custom Ink and I'm going to search tote bag, and everybody needs a tote bag to walk around the conference. Oh, and then it'll have my logo on it. It's like, well, how many people at that conference are attending? How many people are going to have tote bags in the booth? 6, 8, 10? Your tote bag's going to be the one that they use? Maybe, maybe not, right? So, how do you outsmart the promo game? How do you think about what your objectives are? Everything you hand out doesn't need to end up on somebody's desk, right? You know how many times I hear that? We're looking for an item that people are going to keep on their desk. What about a coffee mug? I'm like, oh, wow, yeah. They probably don't have a coffee mug already. Yours is going to be the first coffee mug that they have. So, maybe it's a coffee mug, but maybe it's not. The biggest mistake is companies don't think of the outcome. They leave promo till the end. It should be thought of in the beginning. Your result that you're looking to create should be part of what you think through. And, your leave behind should be a core element of the strategy on trade events, not an afterthought. That's the biggest mistake.
Yeah, I've exhibited in trade shows for 44 years. We were big trade show exhibitors. We've cut back on that because it's less effective today, at least in my industry. But I remember going, get a chance to get out of the booth. I'd bring my tote bag with someone's logo on it and grab all the swag I could, because they're more than happy, particularly the last day of the show, hey, just take it so I don't have to drag it back. So but I would go home and give it to my kids. Literally, yes. I didn't want it. They always like, Daddy, what do you have? Here's a laser pointing pen. Here's a coffee cup, what every child needs. It provided them zero value, right? Except maybe my 6-year-old was aware of a logo, but
I'd say yes and no, right? So like kids items are extremely important, and we always have kids items on hands, because parents have an intrinsic guilt when they're away from their especially young parents. They have a guilt. You're away from your family. You go shopping to find promo products, right? So if I have this rubber ducky, Mike, right, and you've got a 4-year-old daughter at home, and you want to bring her a gift, and you see this rubber ducky, right? But if I want engagement now, what happened? How'd you get this ducky? How'd you get it?
Yeah, went up and said, hey, into my booth. Can I have that? Can I have that duck? Yeah.
You walked into my booth,
sure,
right? Job done. This duck did his job. Done. His job's over.
True. And now their job begins.
Yes, of course. Yes.
The duck's not going to sell their product. The duck's going to allow them to sell their product, right?
The duck is the entry into a conversation with the father or mother who's picking something up for their kid. The fact that it has your logo on it, it's nice. It should, right? Maybe you put your website on it, but it's fine if it ends up with your kid, because you ended up with me. I ended up scanning your badge in today's terms. I ended up in a conversation with you. I qualified or disqualified you, right? But we all know it's a numbers game. The duck did its job. So always think about kids at trade shows, because parents are walking the floor doing exactly what you did, which is doing what I did, which is doing what everybody does. They ain't going to take a soft cover 5x7 journal home to their kid.
Right.
Not going to take a koozie home to their kid.
Right.
So, big strategy.
I had never even thought of it that way. Right. I never even thought of it that way.
Well, and that's what I try to And by the way, that's what I try to do. I try to give people a new framework for how they think about promotionals versus I want something to give away. Because look, the least successful thing you can do is ship 150 giveaways to a trade show conference and you ship 100 back. Not good.
Yeah, right.
You know,
you want to throw away an empty box. That's the goal.
I just had this conversation with a client. Run out, buy 50. Run out. The best thing that could happen to you is you run out. Somebody walks up to the booth and says, "Oh, I saw that you gave away a mini hydro flask tumbler to my friend. Do you have any more?" "Oh, I'm sorry. We just gave out our last one. But you know what? We're ordering more. Let me grab your information. I'll write it down. By the way,
brilliant.
Tell me about your company. What do you do?" Again, so what are you fearful of running out for? It's the best outcome you could have.
Well, it's a whole scarcity concept. It makes people want it more.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The other mistake people make is they'll order one item. One item, one chance.
Yeah.
Have 5 different items.
Yeah.
Do you think the same thing that appeals to you is going to appeal to me?
Right.
Like we have no shared experience, with some shared experience in life, but no, like we're not the same person.
Sure.
So order different things because you're going to have young men, you're going to have old women, you're going to have young women, you're going to have old men, you're going to have different positions inside the company. You're going to have people with kids, people with dogs, people with no kids, people with cats. Like everybody's different. So if you have one item, you are saying everybody that comes into this space, this item is going to appeal to them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Not the way the world works. Well, already I see a huge difference between your company, Inked, and say Vistaprint. If I wanted something, I might just go on Vistaprint, the online resource, or Discount Mugs or whatever. I'm not going to get that feedback. I'm not going to get the, hey, the insight that you have, which is, the perfect example was most people who are attending trade shows are feeling a little guilty from being away from their kids, and they're going to have to stop by the toy store or 7-Eleven or the airport gift shop and get something. They would actually value a rubber duck more than they would value a coffee mug because it checks multiple boxes off and it accomplishes their goal, get them in the booth, right? So that makes perfect sense. I would always think of, and I have up to this very second, always thought of what can I make, what can I have made that they will use later. And really, that's not the paradigm. The paradigm is what can I have out on display that will get them to come into the booth, so that Correct. I can do my job. And I've always looked at it later.
If you think that they're going to take it home, and then later, right, they're going to go, "Oh, that's a company that gave me a tote bag. I need to do business."
Right. Oh, it's forgotten the moment they get on that airplane door. Go through the airplane door, if not before. The relationship.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's great. Just a couple more questions because we're running out of time. I've heard you say that people don't need to build something that changes the world. They need to build something that changes their world. Why is that message important for aspiring entrepreneurs?
Oh, man. This goes to the loneliness factor. It's easy to it's easier now than ever to look online and see a 19-year-old who's built a $50 million company and think you're both too late or not good enough. So I just try to squash or quash that thinking as best I can. So I'll go back to the philosophy. We only get one turn. So build a business for you. Change your world, right? Be happy. Figure out what that is. You want to wake up every morning at 4 a.m. and go for a run and be in the office at 6 o'clock and stay till 7 p.m. and make, 10 billion, and that's where you think happiness lays, go for it. You want to wake it up at 8 a.m. and leave the office at 2 every day? You think that's where happiness lays? Like, go for it. Like, you can do and be the whatever type of entrepreneur that you want. There's no one way to do it, Mike. There's plenty of different ways to do it. You can manufacture, you can not manufacture. You can be a broker. Plenty of people are successful being brokers, right? Never touched a product in their life. Move paper from left side to the right side. You want to do e-commerce? You don't want to have a website. Yeah, believe it or not, there's companies out there that make money today that don't have a website. You know that, right? Right? There's people out there who make a lot of money that don't have a website. Nobody even knows they exist.
Yeah.
Right? So this concept of the concept that I'm trying to share and promote is like, be you. Do it the way you want to do it. Like, you don't have to fit into any formula except for the one that you create. That's the beauty of doing this. You don't need to make $1 million a year. The $1 million a year is going to make you a prisoner of your business. And that's not what you're signing up for. Don't do it. Do something else. Do it differently. So that's the concept. And that's what I mean about changing your world. Is you get to choose what that is.
How'd you come up with the name Inked? I love the name. It's perfect for what you do. But how'd you come up with that?
It's a good question. I'm not sure how I came. I know how I come up with the tagline. But I don't.
What's the tagline?
Not a tattoo shop.
Okay, I can see you just got tired of telling people, no, I'm sorry. Hello, Inked. No, we don't do tattoos. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's forward thinking, Jay. That's forward thinking.
It's so funny, right? So in and out of all these businesses, I've paid PR and marketing firms before for taglines. You know how much these things cost when you get creatives involved. And the best tagline I ever created was from sitting behind a desk in a retail store, having people walk in saying, I hadn't come in before because I thought you were a tattoo shop. And I would instantly fire off, not a tattoo shop, not a tattoo shop. But yeah, no, Inked, I mean, it just kind of felt natural. It just kind of rolled off the tongue. I've always kind of been good at naming things.
Yeah.
And it's certainly it's certainly ubiquitous in this space. I mean, it's you can't search the word online and gain any
right.
I wasn't looking for reinvention per se. I was just looking to share what we do, and it's kind of what we do.
That's a great name. And my last question, Jay, how did you define success before you started your entrepreneurial journey, and how do you define it today? Has it changed?
Oh man, that's a good question. Has it changed? So I did define it by massive riches and how the world saw me.
Yeah.
And really external factors. And now really more, it's just all internal factors. And I'm not really that interested in how the world sees me. I do produce a ton of content. I'm on a lot of podcasts, host my own, and then post a ton. So to hear, me say, I don't care how I'm seen, could sound silly. Of course I care, but it's not what defines me.
Yeah.
I just try to present myself as honestly and as authentically as I can, and who you see is who you get, and be true to that. But yeah, it's maybe because I don't. I drive a 2000. I drive a 14 car. Like I don't I'm not extra. I live in the same house I lived in 23 years ago. I'm not a showy guy. I don't wear a wristwatch. There's no Rolex or
Me
anything.
neither.
Yeah, it's just so. How do I define myself like or success? It used to be the riches, and now I think it's just sort of like are the people around me, and am I spiritually in a good place? Am I safe today? Am I physically and mentally in a good spot? Like it's all the internals versus the externals.
Yeah, great answer. I've yet, in 90-something interviews I've done so far on this show, I've never met anyone yet who has the same answer before and after, which is encouraging. I have faith in humanity. If someone said, riches, Mike, riches, and how about now? Riches, more riches, I would worry a little bit. But I think everyone that goes through the journey comes out with a different perspective on what success is, for sure.
Yeah, look, guys like Zuckerberg and Bezos are getting buff and staying in physical shape for a reason.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
they want to live, and they have a lot of money, and but that doesn't mean they necessarily have purpose to live.
Yeah.
But like it's. As you get older, look, you have to change when you get older. I mean, you just do. How about this, Mike? You don't have to change, but you and I have both met people who don't.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting and sad and tiring. And it's like, I couldn't even imagine being the same person as I was in my 20s, 30s, or even early 40s. Like, it's just not.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be here today if I was that same person, frankly. What's your podcast about?
Well, so it's interesting. I started out with a lot of entrepreneurial interviews, founders and such, and their business journeys, but less their business journeys and more of like their life story, which I always found interesting. Like, tell me about where you grew up and your brothers and sisters type stuff.
Yeah.
But I've really transitioned that to be more of a show and tell in our industry of products. So being where I'm at, in the world, we've got a lot of distributors that walk in and manufacturing partners. I mean, there's over 1,500 manufacturing companies in the promo space alone. These are people who make product for us to sell to our clients, right? So they're industry producers. And on a weekly basis, I have a different distributor. I actually do more than a weekly basis, but I broadcast on a weekly basis. I have a distributor walk into my office and show me the products that they have in their line. And then I take those products, I put them on the air, I give my honest view about those products. And you could go to my YouTube channel, or you could go to my LinkedIn feed, and every week you'll see 5 or 6 or more different clips of different products that I give my original first take to. Like today I had someone in and they brought me this like faux desk plant speaker radio. It was like literally the worst promo product I've ever seen in my life. And I mean, here I'm with this distributor and I said, hey, Marco, listen, you're going to get the good, the bad, and the ugly. But then conversely, right, that's a $70 product I wouldn't pay 2 cents for. And then he shows me this pen, right? And this pen, less than $1, is one of the best pens I've ever seen in the industry. And you're like, I don't like, you're like, what do you mean best pen you've ever seen in the industry? Pen's a pen, right?
Well, one might think that.
It's not. So check it out, right? So that clip can be done in full color. And then you hit and by the way, you get a full wrap on the barrel, right? And you've got a rubber grip. But then you've got, when you clip it.
When you push down the clicker at the top, another
when you
image.
Push the plunger.
Yeah.
Yep. When you push the plunger, another image appears. Yeah. So for illustration, this particular rep put his picture to show you that you can do a full color image.
Yeah.
What about a QR code?
Oh yeah, there you go.
So now the pen is dry. So that's, you only see, you can't, you got to see products to be able to give client. That's under $1.
Yeah.
Now, so it's keep in mind, that's something people keep. They're going to keep it because it's cool and gimmicky. And this, even though it's not in full color, it's black and white. They are able to print in full color, which is a hard thing to do, believe it or not, to get a pen with a clip that prints in full color. So
particularly that small of an image, that small of a template to print it on. Yeah,
for sure.
Well, for my audience who wants to get more information on Inked, if you're watching this on YouTube, look down here where it says see more, and I'll have the URL for Inked there. And if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app, don't do it while you're driving because we don't want to lose subscribers that way. When it's safe to do so, look at the podcast app and look at the show notes there, and the information on Inked will be there. Also, what's the name of your podcast where people can see interesting products that excite you or discourage you, either way?
JSAP Chats.
JSAP Chats. Okay, I'll look that up. I'll put the URL for that in the show notes as well. Jay, thank you so much for being my guest today. I appreciate your point of view. I appreciate the journey you've been on. We do share some similarities in that journey, and continued. I would say good luck, but I don't think you need it. I think you're already past that point. Continued success to you, Jay. I appreciate what you do and the knowledge you bring to me and my audience.
Everybody needs a little luck, Mike. I'll take it.
Okay, all right. Well, good luck and continued success.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Enjoy being here.
All right, here are some final thoughts. Jay's story is a reminder that entrepreneurship doesn't always begin with confidence. Sometimes it begins with discomfort. Sometimes it begins when the fear of staying where you are becomes greater than the fear of leaving. What stands out about Jay's journey to me is his practicality. He doesn't romanticize entrepreneurship. He talks about fear, desperation, failure, embarrassment, action, and execution. He also challenges one of the most common myths in business, that you need a revolutionary idea. In Jay's view, you need a real problem, a workable solution, and the courage to ask for the business, and the discipline to execute. His most powerful message may be this: you don't need to build something that changes the world. You need to build something that changes your world. For many entrepreneurs, that may be the permission they need to stop waiting for the perfect idea and start taking the next right action. Now, that's a wrap. Thanks for being part of our Reluctant Entrepreneur family. We've been very busy recording future episodes with fascinating guests, so be sure to subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. If you're an entrepreneur or know someone who would make a great guest, we'd love to hear from you. Visit reluctantentrepreneur.podcast.com where you can apply or recommend a guest or just learn more about the show. And a couple of shameless plugs. I've started a new series under the Reluctant Entrepreneur brand. The new series is called Reluctant Lessons, where businesses went wrong. On this series, we dig into high-profile business failures and the stories behind it all. So far, we've profiled numerous companies, including Rubbermaid, Kodak, Blockbuster, BlackBerry, Toys R Us, DeLorean Motor Company, with many more to come. There's really no shortage. Check them out on this channel. And if you're interested in my book, The Reluctant Entrepreneur, Anatomy of a Business Startup from Uncertainty to Unstoppable, it's available in paperback and Kindle on Amazon and as an audiobook on both Audible and Amazon. And to everyone listening or watching, if you find yourself stepping into entrepreneurship, whether by choice or by circumstance, remember this: sometimes the path we never planned becomes the journey we were meant to take. Thank you all so much for being here. I truly appreciate all of you, and I'll see you again very soon.